Well, let me broaden it. I like that question a lot. And these are all cultural representations of, I think, that have been very helpful for their societies. They're also called vision quest mushrooms. And, they're definitely, make you a more spiritually aware person. But we live in a tryptamine consciousness. Nature is full of tryptamines. Thought experiment I'd like to tell people is that if you're living in a farm in Pennsylvania right now, listening to this and on your porch and beautiful, I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania at a prep school there. And you looked at the fields and the trees. If you took away all of the lignin, all the hemicellulose, all of the cellulose, all you can see is tryptamines. What would you see? See the same thing. There are tryptamines in grasses, in trees, tryptamines throughout nature. We live basically on a foundation of tryptamines. So when people ask why this is just one elaborated tryptamine that creates the spark, I think, is resident in nature and makes us more nature aware. It goes to the quorum effect that I talked about earlier. If you are more nature aware, you will protect nature better. Isn't that an evolutionary successful strategy? The mushrooms that live in an ecosystem is dependent upon the biodiversity of the ecosystem. You destroy the biodiversity, you destroy the mushrooms.
And also, just to clarify, tryptamines are the chemical class of hallucinogenic compounds, correct? Serotonergic hallucinogenic compounds. And when we say tryptamine, it's, if you've ever seen like a chemical description of what like caffeine looks like, or really anything, it's literally how many nitrogens are there, how many hydrogens are there. I'm looking at the form right now. It shows where the bonds are, where the kind of free, electrons are. Like, it's a chemical compound that essentially is the foundation of a tremendous part of our evolutionary destiny.
We're talking right now primarily using serotonin. Serotonin is a tryptamine. Melatonin is a tryptamine. All these things are, there's so many tryptamines. So we live in the state of a tryptamine-based consciousness, and nature is based on these tryptamines. The ebb and flow of these compounds, I think there's, this is where, if people listening to this podcast were a little woo-woo, do not underestimate what we were saying. Once you have this experience, it can be revelatory. And many people only have it once in their life. One time. That's phenomenal. As Michael Pollan said, it's not a very good business model for the pharmaceutical industry, but microdosing is. Microdosing